I have some basic leaf designs drawn onto the fabric, and I used a number 2 pencil for this. I wanted it to show up, um, and I could have used a number of different marking materials, but I'm going to wash it when it's done, and the pencil will come out. I've tested it many times, so it's not a problem. So it makes it easier for me to see when it's a darker color. And I've got a basic open toe quilting foot on, but you'll notice it's kind of wobbly, and that's because it's ready to fall apart. These things are not generally, the ones that I get are generally speaking not very well made, and they start to get loose and come apart, and I bent the top of it so that it doesn't do a lot of hopping. And it on this fabric and this quilt, it seems to be better that way. So that's why it might look weird, like it's jumping around and doing strange things. Now I'm doing the quilting in a different, a little bit more of a detailed pattern than I drew my picture with. But I just needed the basic shape from the sketch so that I could keep track of where I'm going. Sometimes when I start twisting and turning these things around, it's easy to sort of lose your place. So I'm just adding some sort of jagged edges to the basic leaf design, and that makes it look a little more natural. And then I'll go back up the center and add some veins. And that'll give it another level of detail. Don't know what color the fabric is showing up as on your computer monitor. The camera never does a real good job of giving it an exact representation, but this is kind of a pale goldish yellow color, and the thread I'm using is a light green. And anyway, so there's a quilted leaf. I'll do several more covering this whole side, and this again will be one of the sides of one of my quilted bags, and there'll be a tree on the other side. And then I'll do several pebble pebbles around the background to do the background finish, and I do that like this. It's just a bunch of little teeny tiny circles. And again, I'm using my treadle sewing machine, or one of many of my treadle sewing machines. But you can do this very same thing on an electric. You just have to practice regulating your speed with an electric. One of the reasons I like the treadle is because I'm better at regulating the speed on it. But your success in stitching is going to be based on how fast the machine runs and how fast your hands move to keep up with the machine, or the other way around, so that what's creating your stitch length and your nice stitches is that your hands are moving the fabric in time with the machine. So it's all about practice. The other really important thing to learn is how to get your tension set correctly, and I can't really give you any specifics on that because it's going to be different with different fabric, with different thread, with different batting. So you're going to have to be prepared to reset your tension basically every time, and you'll be able to tell when it isn't working. One of the ways that on this machine, when my tension isn't right, what it starts to do is, for some reason, the thread starts to shred in the needle. So right there at the needle, I'll start to see the thread get fuzzy and then it'll break. And that happens when my top tension isn't tight enough. And on this particular machine, to do quilting, it requires my top tension to be much, much tighter than it does for normal stitching. And I'm not sure if that's just this machine, or if it's all, well, it's all of my Singer 66 style machines. And there is and you're not going to be able to see it in the picture, but the tension knob on the machine is just up above, up here. And I can't, even if I turn it to almost as tight as it'll go, it's really not tight enough with this very thin, slippery thread. So what I end up doing is I've got the thread wrapped around the spool pin, you know, that little metal pin on the top of the machine that holds the spool of thread. I've got the thread wrapped around that twice to add additional top tension to the machine, so that it doesn't do that breaking thread thing. So you have to sometimes learn your own machine's little quirks just by trial and error. But the way that you can tell if your stitches are and your tension are correct is to look at them front and back. And they should, if you're doing a good job and you've got the settings right, they should look just about the same on the front as they do on the back. Now, it's going to be hard to see that on the back, but there's the back, and they do look pretty much the same. It's a little screwed up here because my top thread wasn't pulled up, but you see that they're basically the same on the back as they are on the front. So that's how you can tell if your tension is good. In addition to the fact that the machine will not be performing well if the tension is off. But even though in a lot of cases you won't see the back, it's important that those stitches are well formed on the back too, because that has an effect on how those stitches are going to hold up. So, anyway, the rest of this is going to be a whole lot more of what I just did here, and then I'll move on to the other side, which will again that'll be a tree. And same procedure, I'll draw the basic tree shape onto the fabric and then outline it with my stitching and add whatever additional details I feel like it needs as I go. But that's all there is to it. The key is practice. You learn to get the machine and your hands running as a pair so that things happen at the right speed. That's the real secret. And as I'm listening, I have kind of a weird ear infection right now, and it's harder for me to hear. But as I'm listening to this, I think it's starting to sound a little rough. And that tells me that it's time to take the machine apart a little bit and clean out the lint and give it an oiling. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll get back to work, and at some later time I'll show you the tree on the other side and this part finished. So happy quilting.